I want to welcome you to our free parent webinar that we're really focusing in on helping you to understand how to support your child at home and really help strengthen their language and communication. But first, I'll introduce myself. I'm Glory. I'm the co founder and one of the speech language pathologists supporting the families at Globe Right Therapy. So thank you for being here with us today. And I'll let Katie introduce herself.
Hi, I'm Katie Nadal. I'm speech language pathologist here at Globe Right Therapy. Thank you all so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you. So we'll go ahead and start. And today's focus is on unlocking your child's communication with daily routines, really helping your child thrive with natural strength based communication strategies. And before we go into the webinar, I wanted to share a little bit about us, just because I think it's always important to know who you're connecting with, especially a company, and understanding why we want to share this information with you. So at Globe Right Therapy, our mission is to not only help the child, but also empower parents and caregivers in knowing how to support their child throughout their meaningful routines and activities, really giving you the confidence to know that you're your child's greatest teacher. And we support a lot of early intervention partnerships throughout 3 states, really focusing on providing accessible services to families to make sure that they don't go unserved. And we want to support their mission and the teams that we support within our partnerships. And overall, we strive to provide accessible, compassionate, and effective therapy services. So while sharing our expertise, we focus on building meaningful relationships and connections with the families that we serve to better serve them throughout our journey together. And then our core values are growth, connection, making a difference, and empowerment. And this really falls along with that empowerment piece because that is our mission, to empower you, to empower families, and knowing how to support the kids at home in your natural environment during your meaningful routines and activities. And that's what we'll review today. And just to give you a little overview of what we'll be talking about. So we did the welcome and introduction, and we'll go into understanding the different communication styles, understanding everyday routines as opportunities for facilitating language and communication. And then we'll have an opportunity to practice. We'll give you some examples of how you can use these strategies at home, and then any parent participation that anyone wants to join in, we'll be happy to have you. And then we'll do a little mini challenge, and we'll end with sharing the next steps and the resource that we're going to provide for you. Okay, so why does everyday routines matter? And really understanding that every child communicates in their own way. And it's so important to meet them where they are. So just understanding that language happens just in your day to day, during mealtime, bath time, playtime. It's everywhere. And everything that you're doing is an opportunity for language and communication. Really, we want to show you that you don't need a fancy app or a fancy program. It's really just having that intentional engagement throughout what you're already doing. So you have the tools already in your home, outside, just in anything that's meaningful to you. And that's why we want to share this information with you, just to help you understand that it's all around you and you have the tools that you need. And really to help you understand and empower you to know that you're your child's greatest teacher, you're your child's greatest communication partner. So by the end of the session, you'll have some simple, practical strategies that you can use like right away after you end the session. You can start using these strategies. So let's see, I know we have a couple people in here. Does anybody want to share what's one daily routine that your child enjoys the most? And anybody can unmute or you can share in the chat. And understanding the daily routines of your child and what they enjoy most is important, because that's the routine that you can use to really focusing on the strategies, or the one that's you're able to do with them throughout your day. That's an easy um, routine that you can implement, where it doesn't feel like it's you're rushing out the door or having to hurry up through the strategy, but really finding a meaningful routine that your child enjoys and is meaningful to both of you. And then it's also important to understand that all communication is valid. So there's words aren't just are the only form of communication. Children really communicate in various forms using gestures, pointing, reaching, using facial expressions, any vocalization. So that just means any simple sounds that they're trying to make, any partial words that they're using, body movements, words, phrases, if they're using pictures to communicate, any communication boards, and really knowing that all communication is valid and all communication is meaningful, and meeting them where they are to use their strengths to build on that. And that's what's most important. And this is what I was just saying, really focusing on their strengths, not their deficits, and just observe, how does your child communicate naturally? What do they like to do day to help you understand what their wants and needs are and build on what they're already doing? So think about, what is your child's favorite way of communicating with you? And then I'll let Katie go into some of the routines that you can use and some of the strategies that go along with the routines.
Thank you. Yeah. So now that we have an understanding of the different communication types, we're going to go into a little bit of our routines and some strategies. Language happens all of the time in all of our routines and our day to day, everything that we're doing. Language is happening. And even though it might not be words, we're still communicating. And there's still opportunities for us to model language and to show and try some different things. So, just looking at some of the daily routines that might happen in your day to day, mealtime, for example, is a great opportunity to really start labeling the different foods, offering different choices. Do you want an apple or do you want a banana? Hold them up and show them. Describing different textures. Oh, this is crunchy, or even describing the different colors. Oh, this is yellow, this is green. Just really just talking about what the food is and having that interaction is great. Bath time is a sensory rich language experience. We're in warm water, we can say, "Splash, oh, the water's warm." We can talk about, like, the different body parts that it's going on. We can narrate what we're doing and what's happening in the bath. And getting dressed. This is a great time to offer choices again. Do you wanna wear a blue shirt or do you wanna wear a red shirt? We can, again, describe the different textures or the colors, or even talking about putting our arms through or our legs through, or even playing, like, peekaboo and putting your head. And then playtime, of course, is an excellent time where language is happening. During playtime, like, really just following your child's lead, watching what they gravitate towards, and just observing that, and you can go and enter their world, right? That's how I like to think of it. We're entering their world and we're doing what it is that they're doing and what they're gravitating towards. So let's say they go and they want to play with their cars and they're driving their cars around and they're going, "Vroom," or they're making a sound, or maybe they're not making a sound, or maybe they're looking at you. We can expand on what they're doing and saying. So we can pick up another car and start rolling it around and being like, "Car, go." Vroom. We can make it like a game. We can crash them into each other. So really just entering their world, doing what they're doing, and then expanding upon that and modeling some more language. And then, yeah, grocery shopping and errands, again, great time for us to be able to label what we're seeing, label what we're doing, engage in the kind of back and forth interaction. You can even ask some simple questions like, "Do you want this?" or "What is this?" or just talking about what it is that we're doing and seeing. And then these are some simple strategies that we can use to support communication during our daily routines. And I'm going to go through them and talk about them more specifically. So, waiting and pausing. This is a great strategy that we can use. Basically, when we give space for your child to respond and process. So, even though we might know exactly what it is that they want or what they're trying to say or what they need, that it's an opportunity for us to pause and see what they might do to communicate with us in a way. Maybe they'll look at you, maybe they'll grab it, maybe they'll make a sound, or maybe they'll say a word. So these are all just setting up these opportunities for them to communicate and to let us know. Thinking about pausing or waiting and pausing during mealtime. It really can encourage your child to communicate with gestures or words or sounds. It can even promote problem solving and thinking skills. And then it can really strengthen the bond between you and your child by making mealtime interactive. It could also help your child learn to make requests and respond in that conversation like way. So, what this can look like is, let's say you're offering food, they're sitting down, you're about to eat. You can hold the food out just out of reach and offer it with a smile, and then pause for a moment and wait and see if your child might gesture or make a sound or look at you or signal in some way that they want that food. That's great. And then what we can do is once they've shown that communication, we can then reinforce the language like, oh, you want a banana, and then give it to them. And just enforcing that back and forth and teaching them that they can communicate with us and we do understand. You could also try this like before each bite. So if you have like food on a spoon, you could like pause right before the bite and hold the food out and see if they indicate like readiness by opening their mouth or reaching or vocalizing. And then we can encourage a phrase like, oh, do you want more? Or, and then pause and see what happens. And you can do the same with the drink as well. Yeah. So that's pausing. And then next strategy would be narrating and modeling. And this is basically when we are describing what is happening. So we can talk about this during many different times of the day, but just for an example, during dressing and for diaper changing, for example, would be a great time. So and why narrating is really great is because children can then learn new words by hearing them or learning new items, names, or actions by hearing it, and then understanding that routine through the repeated language. And it can, again, help build that strong connection with you by engaging in that interaction. And then, yeah, just everybody feeling more involved during those sort of interactions. So, what you can do is you can describe the action. So, you can describe what you're doing. I'm unbuttoning your shirt. Let's take it off for one arm. Now the other arm. We can label different body parts like, here's your hand. Let's put it in the sleeve. We can discuss how it feels like, oh, your shirt is so soft, or your shirt is blue. Talking about those different things. We could even repeat what they're saying. So let's say they indicate a, some sort of babbling. You can be like, oh, your bottle. We're going to get your bottle after diaper change. So really just giving them the language and narrating what is going on. We could even make a song or a rhyme if you wanted to make up a song about getting dressed or putting on your pants. Playing peekaboo, which I mentioned before, say their head's going into the shirt. Where'd your head go? And then like they come out and you can be like, peekaboo. Yeah, and just really describing it and making it fun. I would say, like, just keeping it cheerful and exciting and involving your child in the task. So you could even narrate if they're putting their pants on or if they're pulling their pants up. Oh, you're pulling your pants up. And then I think what's really important with this is just being consistent. So repeating similar words to really reinforce that language and the routine. And then they'll start to hear it often. We're not forcing anybody to say anything or telling them to say anything. Really, we're just narrating and modeling what is occurring and happening. And then expanding and build on words. So this can happen during playtime or whenever, but playtime is maybe a great time. Say your child picks up a car and says car, then you could expand on what they've said. So they said car, you could be like, yes, a car goes vroom, beep, beep. I'm just expanding upon what it is that they've already said. Here, the example on here is like a dog. The child says dog, or even the child says woof. You could be like, yes, a big brown dog. Dog is running. Woof, woof. Like we could really expand on that. So yeah, that can happen whenever, say they say banana while you guys are eating. You could be like, ooh, yeah, banana is yummy. Eat banana. Really just expanding on that. So, yeah, really, we want to celebrate all communication. Again, even gestures, attempting to looking, even making some sort of vocalization, making signs. Those are all attempts to connect, and it's very meaningful. And yeah, these strategies can really just help build your empowerment when you're having your day to day experiences with your children.
Yeah, and I was going to share one thing I like to discuss with parents too for narrating So sometimes I know you're busy coming home from work and you have to start dinner and things like that. If your child is with you in the kitchen, narrating is a great strategy you can use while they're watching you or even helping you cook. Narrating, are you opening the fridge? Oh, I open the fridge. Oh, I get the tomatoes out. Oh, cut. I put it on in the bowl or stir the pot, stir, just as they're watching you and engaging with you, even though you're not necessarily sitting down with them, they're still providing a very language rich environment. So just thinking of how we can use these strategies in a simple way where you can just do it naturally and it just becomes part of your routine. I just
Yeah.
always like to share that one with my
Yeah, that's a good
busy
strategy.
parents.
Come home, have to cook dinner. It's an
Yeah.
excellent time.
Yeah, I just talked to one of the dads I'm supporting right now about this because he said he was busy and had to make dinner. I was like, "Oh, we can add this to your thing." So then he did. So you don't feel guilty like you didn't use a strategy or you're not supporting your
Yeah.
child. We really want to make this easily to implement and that it's meaningful to you and help you feel empowered.
Yeah, things that you guys are already doing it at home. It's nothing new that we're showing, we're just adding that language component. So this next piece is just like a role playing. We can offer some participation if you would like to participate in sharing or thinking about some of these things. So the example would be either mealtime or bath time. And then, yeah, thinking about how would you add language to these routines at home? And one question we can ask is, for example, if your child is playing with the blocks, what's one way you could add words to the interaction? Or if a child brings you a book, how could you encourage communication with the book or with what they've done, how they brought you the book? If anybody wants to share, you can unmute or send in the chat.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody feels brave enough to share. We know these things are a little awkward, but
Hi, can you
but
hear
we're
me?
here for you. So let us know.
Can you
Hi,
hear
Annie.
Hi, I'm a service coordinator with early intervention. Glory, we've quote unquote met before.
Yeah, I remember the
Molly. I just wanted to say we work with Globright a lot, and I just cannot tell you how phenomenal the speech therapists are, along with PT and OT. But a lot of the times at our meetings and sessions, they use these as examples. So moms and dads or caregivers are like, well, how do you just make something so mundane interactive? And they'll mention stacking blocks and, oh, we added one more. What color is the block? And if they fall, crash, just like Katie, you were saying about the car, vroom, beep, beep. Same thing with the book, talking about not necessarily reading, but what do you see? Oh, it's a kitty cat, soft kitty, meow. So things like that. As someone who's not a speech therapist, I've learned so much from your speech therapist over at Globright.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing, Annie. And that, yeah, and it's so helpful that we can all collaborate and support each other and supporting the family. So thank you so much for sharing that. Yeah, and like books, that's a great point, Annie, that we don't necessarily need to read the book word for word for young children because really they learn best by pointing out the pictures or saying the sound of what the animal is or adding an action, talking about the action that's shown in the book or saying pointing to the colors and just adding simple language as they're engaging with you and you following their lead. So that was a great point.
And praising any approximation. If it's
Mhm.
blue, yes, blue car.
Yeah, I love it. And yeah, and just encouraging them because then that just shows them like they're saying something and then you're responding to it and then adding to it. So even though they don't repeat it at that time, like Katie said earlier, we're not expecting them to repeat anything necessarily. Of course, if they imitate it at that time, that's great and exciting. And we want to encourage that. But it's okay if they don't repeat it right away. It's just you modeling and providing that language rich environment is really making a difference. And then a key takeaway, like we were saying, is that you don't have to force conversation. Just talking about what's happening is what's going to make the difference. Do you have anything else to add, Katie?
I think that's perfect. Thank you all for
Yeah, thank you, Annie, for participating.
Okay. And yes, we wanted to just invite you for this little mini challenge. Thinking about the challenge of tonight at dinner or tomorrow night at dinner, trying like pausing or trying using to the pausing where we pause for 5 seconds before responding to your child. So just to see what they may do. Maybe they'll look up at you. Maybe they'll make a sound. Maybe they'll make a gesture. Maybe they'll say a word. And just thinking about how we can utilize this pausing during mealtime.
Yeah, and I was going to say for pausing, that makes me think about, and I just thought about this earlier when you were talking about pausing. It goes along with pausing and giving them time to initiate a form of communication, but also thinking of not anticipating their needs. I know that's a separate strategy, but it makes me think of that strategy is not necessarily anticipating their needs right away and giving them time to initiate that communication. And that really makes a difference, even if you start with that, just giving them time to show you or to point to it or grab something that they want, but just not anticipating it right away or giving it to them right away, just giving them the opportunity to initiate the form of communication.
Yeah, that's a great point. I know as parents know, you might really know what it is that your child wants and
Mhm.
needs. And that's great. And we can use that to their advantage. If we know what they need, that's a great time to maybe give them a choice even. Do you want this or this? And maybe they'll grab or they'll say the word or they'll initiate it. But yeah, I'm giving them some time to communicate. And then this last question is just what questions might come to mind about using routines to facilitate language and communication? If anybody wants to. No, you can.
Yeah, I was going to say if anybody has questions or if you don't feel comfortable asking right now, I can't see the chat and I don't see
Yes.
anything in the chat right now, but if we didn't answer it or you do have a question, you can always send a reply to the email that I sent with the link to this, or you could put it in the chat and we'll review it. But we're here to support you. And this is really, we wanted to make this simple and easy for you to utilize at home. There's a lot of evidence-based early intervention strategies, but these are the main ones that we like to start with usually as we're supporting families. And then we expand on there from listening to what the parents' needs are and how the child is progressing and things like that. But these are really meant for you to easily implement them right after this webinar. But of course, if you have any questions, we're always happy to chat and help you with anything that you might need. And then just remember that you are your child's greatest communication teacher. You are your child's greatest teacher. And that's why we're so passionate at Globe Right Therapy. And that's why we support our early intervention partners, because you are your child's greatest teacher. And we want to support you and empower you and giving you the confidence in knowing that you can support your child and that you have the tools at home already. Sometimes we just need a little bit of support from someone that is an expert in language and communication, but you're the expert in your child. So we're very passionate about helping parents understand how to support their kids at home. And then remember, small changes make a big impact. Just noticing and responding to your child's communication really helps them grow. And remembering every family is unique. We always focus on meeting the child where they're at and also meeting the families where they're at. And looking at it that way with your child's communication is also very important. Understanding what their strengths are, what they're already doing, and helping to build off of that. So we'll be sending you the free resource. We did create a routines-based activity resource that'll be shared with the recording. And then it has, I can't remember, Katie, how many routines do we have?
I think
Or
there's
do you-
7 or 8 different routines on there.
Okay. So it'll be 8 different routines with some. Did you want to share it? I can stop sharing this if you wanted to share
Yeah,
it.
sure. I can show it.
So we'll share that so you can see what.
This is what it looks like, and it basically just have the routine and then a little strategy, and it'll explain a little bit about it and then give some examples and a little tips for parents and things to watch out for each one. Mealtime, bath time, playing and learning, and car time conversation.
Yeah, and that's a great one too, because I know as busy parents, we're always in the car. So even the
Yeah.
car can be a language and communication opportunity.
and outdoor play, and then dressing and diaper changing strategies that we'll send over.
Okay, so I'll go back. And sorry, Summer, I did see that you put meal and bath time for, I think that was probably like the one that your child engages in the most. I couldn't see the chat. Well, I'll have to figure that out for next time as we start doing more webinars. This is like really our first one, essentially. So we'll learn the tech piece of it. And then I also wanted to share that we are building a Grow Brightly parent community, because I know as busy parents, you want the tools, you want resources, and we want to be able to provide that for you. So we're actually launching the parent community in April, and we will be continuing to provide free webinars each month, and then also expanding on that parent community. So being able to join in a session like this and have a certain topic that you're focusing on, and then having the ability to ask questions to someone with that area of expertise. We're going to focus on not just language and communication, but we're also going to add gross motor and fine motor, sensory, feeding. We'll also add some webinars for sleep, because I know that's so important as a parent, figuring out how to help your child sleep better, and just for your overall wellness too. So just thinking of what parents need, and if anybody has any thoughts or what good topics would be, I would love to hear that. So you can either share it in the chat or email me through the Gloria at Glow Bright Therapy, and we'll be happy to add those topics as we're building out the community. I am so grateful for you to be able to be here today and join us and wanting to learn together. We really feel passionate about this, about supporting you and empowering you. So thank you for being here. And remember that you're doing an amazing job. I know sometimes it can be stressful, especially when you don't know exactly what's going on or what to do, but trust that you are your child's greatest teacher. You are doing a great job. And celebrate every step of the way, because the small wins make a big difference. So thank you for joining us. And if anybody has any questions, or if you want to stay on after, I'm happy to connect. And thank you, Katie, for being here.
Thank you.
And Annie, thank you for participating and sharing your experience with us. Thank you for being here.